folks, welcome back to Indaba Africa. This is Chris once again. Hey folks, welcome back. This is Chris. South Africa, yes, my mooiste land. Indeed. We're waiting for Cyril Ramaphosa to get off his duff and start broadcasting here. It hasn't happened yet. Still waiting to see what's going on here. It's taking a bit. He's now over time. It's 2 p.m., 8 o'clock in South Africa, and Ramaphosa is supposed to be on right now. So we're just waiting to see what the deal is here. We've got nothing. So as usual, he's late. Not a surprise. So just waiting for Cyril Ramaphosa. He's got 4,100 people on the SABC site watching him and 49 likes. 1/10 of 1% are the likes. Yeah. Well, this is calling for a root beer here. Let's crack that bad boy open here and get started. Waiting for Ramaphosa. No idea what he's going to talk about today. Is he going to? By the way, my grommets came in for my earpieces that I lost the other day. Charlotte Hun, welcome to you. Rose Wheeler, Roy Hayes, Jacques Kotsia, D.A. Frater. Going to lurk, okay. Your back must be bothering Erica. Who else? Marilyn Brokenshaw, Peter Schoen, Teresa Bauman, Roy Hayes. It's the usual suspects. Monray Sieberts. Big question, will Chris Ronaldo have the shave tomorrow morning? Well, yeah. Well, I did put 2 conditions on the beard, so we'll see. Condition number 1 could be met. I wouldn't hold my breath on that. Yep. Anne-Marie says she has 9 minutes before she has to pay attention. Well, it's time now, but Ramaphosa is not here. Shock. Ramaphosa. Let's see if he's showing up. It says live, but he's not live. So let me go there now. I don't see ENCA cameras. And Mr. B just gave a super chat of 35 rand. Thank you for that, Mr. B. I appreciate that super chat. Okay. No, not there, man. Nothing there. He's late, as usual. Not a surprise. We'll wait for him to go live. Hopefully he'll show up. The sound is on, so when he does come on, we won't be shocked that he'll be there. So I'm going to take a couple Tylenol. I've got a bit of a headache here, folks. If you don't mind. Ooh, it sounds like candy, doesn't it? It's not candy. It's Tylenol. It's the industrial strength size right there. Big one. Anyway, let me just take a couple of those bad boys. Oh, here you go. It's ready.
Exactly 2 years since I stood before you to announce that South Africa would be entering a nationwide lockdown to contain the spread of COVID-19 virus. This was a drastic and unprecedented measure, but it helped to slow the spread of the virus.
Liar.
So that our health facilities and indeed our society could have time to prepare for the anticipated surge in infections. Since then, we have had to adjust our response.
Destroy our country.
As the pandemic has changed, as infections have risen and fallen, and as our health facilities have come under enormous pressure.
Because you let them burn down.
For 2 years, our lives have been shaped by this pandemic.
Not yours.
South Africa has had more than 3.7 million cases and has recorded nearly 100,000 COVID-19 deaths.
You claim.
The pandemic has changed the way we work, the way we travel, the way we worship and socialize.
You don't let people worship, you fascists.
Play
you don't let people play
sport.
You don't let people watch sport.
It has shattered many livelihoods and devastated our economy.
You've devastated your
economy. Leading to the closure of many businesses and the loss of some 2 million jobs.
3 million.
Yet it has also shown South Africans
here we go.
To be a caring and compassionate people.
But not the ANC.
Coming to each other's assistance at
not
the hour
ANC.
of the greatest need. When we were called upon to observe restrictions on movement, gatherings and various activities,
Cadre ignored it.
As South Africans, we did so.
No, you didn't. The townships never stopped doing anything.
Knowing that it is for the sake of our health
Liar.
And lives and the good of the country. Over the past 2 years,
total bullshit.
We have taken unprecedented actions to strengthen our health system.
And destroy minority South Africa.
We hired more people to deal with the pandemic.
Patronage.
Built more hospital and laboratory capacity.
Theft.
And ensured that COVID patients are well cared for in our hospitals.
Not minorities.
We are now at a watershed moment.
Yeah, really.
We are now ready to enter a new phase
Because the
in our
ANC
management
conference
of
is
the
coming.
pandemic.
ANC conference is coming. That's a new stage.
After 4 waves of infection,
4.
fewer people are becoming severely ill and requiring hospitalization. There are fewer deaths than before.
Just categorize
Our
things differently.
scientists tell us that this is mainly because some 60 to 80% of the population has some form of immunity to the virus,
Yeah, they got it.
either
Recovered.
from previous infection or vaccinations.
They got it and recovered. Don't kid yourself about
From the
jabs.
experience of the past 2 years, our health services have learned to manage the disease more effectively.
They have no clue.
We have gotten used to wearing masks and washing our hands regularly.
I've never seen you wear a mask except on TV.
Most importantly, 48% of all adults have received at least 1 vaccine dose.
Doesn't mean
We
anything.
therefore enter the 3rd year of this pandemic more hopeful than ever before.
Yeah, great. So stop your fascism now.
While the pandemic is not yet over,
Of course it's over. It's been
and
over
while
since
we
2
remain
years ago.
cautious, we see many parts of our daily life returning to normal.
He can't even put his tie on straight. Look at that
We
tie.
see our economy returning to full operation.
Looks like a drunk.
We feel the fear and despair of the last 2 years lifting from our shoulders.
Why are his lips so dark on one side?
Due to the changing nature of the pandemic and due to the progress that has been made through our collective efforts, we intend to lift the national state of disaster
Yeah?
as soon as public comment on the health regulations published by the Minister of Health have been completed.
Bullshit. Just lift them
These
now.
regulations, when finalized, will replace the state of disaster regulations as the legal instrument that we use to manage the pandemic.
Trying to pass laws illegally.
All South Africans are invited to make comments on the draft regulations before the 16th of April 2022.
Oh my God. Stop.
What should be clear, though, is that
We're frauds.
the end of the national state of disaster will not mean the end and does not mean the end of the pandemic.
Or the ANC, sadly.
It just means that we are changing the way we manage the
We're
pandemic,
still going to oppress you.
and we will be relying on health regulations rather than disaster management regulations.
We're still going to steal your
It
freedom.
means that we are learning to live with the virus.
We're learning how to steal
in our
from you more
presence.
efficiently.
It means that we are returning as far as possible to the lives that we lived before the pandemic,
One full of misery
due
from the
to
ANC.
the relaxation of many of the restrictions.
Criminal syndicate. RICO.
It means that we are opening our economy still further, and
Unless
that
you're
we
white.
are resuming many of the social and cultural activities that we have missed over the last 2 years.
Unless you're colored.
Since October last year, the country has been at adjusted level 1, which
means
has meant
nothing.
that many normal activities have resumed with health guidelines followed at all times.
And everybody hasn't died. Look at that.
Most of the restrictions on the economic activity have been lifted. We are now able to ease the restrictions.
But you're still
Even
ruling
further.
illegally.
In deciding which restrictions to ease and which to keep in place, we are obviously guided, as before,
By the Sun Goma.
by the advice of the Ministerial Advisory Committee
Traditional
on
healers.
COVID-19,
Witch
which,
doctors.
as you recall, is composed of medical people,
Medical
scientists,
people.
and
Medical
what have
people.
you.
Medical people. That's the term you use, Cyril?
We've also looked to the experiences of other countries, for we learn a great deal
From Russia,
other countries
China.
as they manage the pandemic,
Myanmar.
including those countries where the complete lifting of restrictions has been followed by a surge, a rise in infections and deaths.
Mauritius.
We study these countries
And we make
and
our
what
shit up.
they are doing to better inform our own response.
Oh, please.
Knowing that we have to enter a new phase in our management of the pandemic, we took time to consult widely
With whom?
various stakeholders, including religious bodies,
Oh, of course.
sporting organizations,
Yes.
traditional leaders,
Traditional healers,
educationists,
San Gomez,
and many others.
and many others.
Earlier today, we held a meeting of the Presidential Coordinating Council,
To discuss how to
which
deal.
brings together our premiers, our mayors of all metros, ministers, deputy ministers, and representatives of SALGA, the South African Local Government Association,
Yes.
as well as our traditional leaders.
Ah, there it is.
Based on those consultations
Yes.
and the recommendations of the National
Here it comes!
Coronavirus Command
Here it
Council,
comes!
Cabinet has decided to ease several restrictions as part of adjusted level 1.
So you're still at 1.
The restrictions on gatherings are being significantly changed. In previous regulations, the emphasis was on placing an upper limit on the
Yes.
number of people who could attend a gathering.
And now?
The approach now going forward is that both indoor and outdoor venues can now take up to 50% of their capacity, provided that the criteria for entrance at those venues
Includes
is
jabs.
proof of vaccination
I knew it! I knew it!
or a COVID test not older than 72 hours. But where there is no provision for proof of vaccination or a COVID test, then the current upper limit will remain of 1,000 people indoors and 2,000 people outdoors.
Shut up.
This change to the restriction on gatherings will be of great benefit to the sporting, cultural,
No, it won't.
entertainment, and event industries in particular.
Be great benefit to the
This
testing
means
industry.
that if we are vaccinated
Yes.
or have recently tested negative,
And enrich the companies.
we'll be able to return to watching sports in our stadiums
Fuck off.
and attending music concerts or events.
Thank
Be able
you.
to attend
for
theatre
giving us our
performances,
God-given rights, you
conferences, and
jackal.
other events. The maximum number of people permitted at a funeral will increase
Ugh.
from 100 to 200. As before, night vigils, after funeral gatherings, and the so-called after tears gatherings are still not allowed.
Fuck you.
There are also important changes to the regulation on the wearing of masks.
Uh,
As before, it is mandatory to wear a mask or similar covering over the nose and mouth when in public indoor spaces. However, a mask is not required when one is outdoors. This means that we still need to wear masks when in facilities like shops, malls, offices,
Shut up.
factories, taxis, buses, trains, or any other
Mr.
indoor
Fedcock.
place. But we do not need to wear masks
we never need to wear a
when
mask.
we are walking on the streets of our country or our pathways or in an open space, when exercising outdoors
Oh,
or jogging
jogging.
or when attending an outdoor gathering.
An ANC gathering.
The regulations on social distancing are also being changed,
Really? 1 inch.
requiring that a space of 1 meter is maintained between persons in all settings except in schools. There are also changes to the regulations on
Screw
international
you.
travel.
Ooh.
Travelers entering South Africa will need to show proof of vaccination or a negative PCR test not older than 72 hours. All unvaccinated travelers entering the country who want to be vaccinated will be offered a vaccination.
No, thank you.
These measures will take effect from tomorrow,
What's your
Wednesday,
Chinese shit?
the 23rd of March 2022 once the new regulations are gazetted. With these changes, almost all restrictions on social and economic activity will have been lifted.
Not really.
Going forward, our most important defenses against the disease
Get rid of the ANC. Get rid of the ANC.
firstly, vaccination, and secondly, the observance of basic measures such as wearing masks indoors. The further easing of the remaining restrictions will require that we increase the rate of vaccination among South Africans. The vaccine has been shown to significantly reduce severe illness.
Where's the science? Show us the science.
Statistics from our health facilities clearly show that people who are not vaccinated stand a higher chance of being hospitalized or
So
even
you claim.
dying from COVID-19.
Dying? No.
Vaccination is likely to reduce transmission at home and at places like schools, universities, where there is close contact. Therefore, while we welcome the fact that more than 68% of people older than 60 years in South Africa have been vaccinated, we are concerned that only 35% of people between 18 and 35 years have been vaccinated. It is vitally important that we get many more of our people
Why? They're healthy.
between 18 and 35 years vaccinated.
Why? They're healthy.
And that is why we launched the hashtag #GetReady campaign last month.
You pick a word
I'm sure
somebody
that
can
a number of
understand.
you have already seen this.
I'm sure we haven't. We don't pay attention to
This
gas bags.
campaign includes messages
Yes.
developed by young people
Ooh.
and focuses on making the case for people between 18 and 35 years to vaccinate. In addition, we would like to encourage those who are vaccinated to go and receive their booster doses,
Booster.
like I did the other day.
Oh, good for you, Cyril.
If we
Booster.
are all vaccinated, we can turn our energy, our resources, and
To
effort
stealing,
to rebuilding our economy and
Cadres.
creating much-needed jobs.
persecuting minorities,
2
coloreds,
years
whites,
ago,
Indians.
as we announced the start of a nationwide lockdown, I said that in the days, weeks, and months ahead,
How about years?
our resolve, our resourcefulness,
Ha!
and our unity as a nation would be tested as never before.
Not really.
I called on all of us to play our part and said to be courageous, to be patient, and above all, we should show compassion. The people of South Africa have responded to that call time and time
No, they
and
haven't.
time again.
No, they haven't. 35%
Once
jab.
more, we are all called upon
Can't you keep the speaker
to
working?
play our part.
How pathetic are these media people?
Get vaccinated as we embark with hope and determination on a new era in our fight against
The
this
ANC.
pandemic. I thank you.
You're welcome.
Good night.
Good night. Goodbye. Shut up. Wow. Can I leave now? Can I take questions? There's nobody here. Well, that was pathetic. Cyril Ramaphosa has to come out himself. He can't put someone from his health ministry out there. Oh my goodness, people are spamming the hell out of the SABC feed. Yeah, they're spamming the hell out of that, folks. Wow, welcome to the program, ladies and gentlemen. You're watching Chris Wyatt Reports here, reporting on South Africa, Azania, reporting on Cyril Ramaphosa's speech to the nation in which he disputed total nonsense. We'll run through it. Basically said that we are great and wonderful from the ANC. We've made it all so brilliant. We've made life so much better. It's all because of our genius and our consulting with our scientific experts, read Sangoma witch doctors, that we are now not getting rid of the state of disaster. We're going to continue it into perpetuity. And what we're going to do instead is we're going to come up with other bullshit regulations, which are going to try to make into law to oppress South Africans. He talked about how South Africans have answered the call and adhere to the restrictions. Only that's not true. We all know the fact that once they murdered Collins Kosa and a dozen other black South Africans in the townships, the SANDF and SAPs pulled out of the townships, and black South Africans living in the townships did their business. They went about, no social distancing. They still don't do it. No closing, no wearing a mask. No consequence whatsoever. Hence, South Africa developed its own variants, which spread around the world as a consequence, infecting people with things from South Africa. So what a total load of horse manure. This guy is worse than a used car salesman. Absolutely ridiculous. So gatherings will still continue to have constraints on them of 1,000 indoors, 2,000 people outdoors. Totally ridiculous. So you have a conference center in Durban, and you're allowed to have 1,000 people in a space that's 1/10 the size of Newlands or 1/10 the size of Ellis Park. Ellis Park can house 50,000, yet you're not allowed to have 50,000 because these asinine rules, which are crushing the viability of these rugby franchises. To be fair, most people won't come out to URC or Currie Cup games anyway, so it's not going to make a huge difference, but it will make a difference. International travel, there's no change. Proof of vaccination or proof of a negative PCR test. So there's no change there. No change whatsoever. Funerals now doubling the number of people going to attend a funeral from 100 to 200. Night vigils prohibited, night gatherings still prohibited in this unlawful, unconstitutional violation of basic human rights and basic South African rights under your 1996 Constitution. This is a corrupt cabal of leftist hate wankers who hate South Africans and continue to make you suffer. 68% of those over the age of 60, according to Ramaphosa, have been jabbed. And just 35% of 18 to 35-year-olds have been jabbed. You should take a message from that, Cyril. You've had vaccinations available now for nearly a year, and you can only get 35% of South Africans to take the jab, uptake in that age group. Mask required in public spaces indoors. So if you go to Menlyn, or you go to Sandton City, you have to wear a mask. Screw you. I won't be coming either. I'm not wearing a mask, making it difficult for me to breathe, to walk around a store and spreading germs, inhaling them in my face. That's just asinine. Your lack of scientific evidence. Ignoring the Johns Hopkins survey. Johns Hopkins study, the most comprehensive medical research effort during the age of Rona by Johns Hopkins, completely ignored by these idiots. You say you look abroad for other countries, but you don't. Otherwise, you would have Johns Hopkins study in your hand and you would be adhering to it. Total nonsense. Total nonsense. These new changes take effect tomorrow, the 23rd of March, so midnight tonight. So just a few hours away for South Africans. It's now 8:22 in Pretoria, and we're just 3.5 hours from them taking effect. He looks so proud of himself. I'd like to see him from the back to see whose hand is up his ass, moving his mouth. Well said, Debaram. Levin says they're only locked down in townships for the first 20 days. After that, they've not cared. No massive social distancing. Exactly. No, Levin, I know. I don't have to be in a township. I know exactly what's going on there. I know exactly what's going on. It has never been. Westerner adrift. He's mental if he thinks we're getting jabbed. Hey, welcome, Westerner adrift. Don't recall you. Good to see you there. Artful Dodger says it's hard to believe that anyone who has investigated the effects of the jab can be positive. David Groenewald says, so we had herd immunity, so why? Yeah, exactly. Well, it depends on what they pick as the percentage for that. The jab is witchcraft. I hope all South Africans here are on DRSA where they can have their say about these regulations. Well, I hope so too, Levin. And speaking of which, it's time to get Rob Hutchison back on. I'll see if he's available this week. Olga Furry, welcome, Olga. Good to see you again. Mr. B says, I can't seem to upgrade my membership. I'm not sure how that works, Mr. B. Some people have tried it before. Yeah, you're able to do it. I don't know if you just have to rejoin your membership, and then it goes from there. So you may have to do that. But thank you for the thought of doing it. Sun and Sea, Fauci is in great trouble in Congress on his road to jail. Well, they should all be on the road to jail. We'll see what happens to them, but I wouldn't hold my breath on them going to jail. Trevor Bush says, what an effing idiot this man. Make me physically sick and to smash my phone. Yeah, no, I'm with you. It's actually making me actually physically sick listening to his nonsense. By the way, I'm wearing a rugby kit, a rugby jersey. This is the British and Irish Lions Tour jersey for this year, 2021. There you go. And it is a personalized version with my name on the back. Number 11, left wing. Not politically, just on the rugby pitch. Great and wonderful Oz. There you go. Exactly right. Yeah, his face is really messed up, Ruth. I mean, I don't know what's going on there. He had some dark stuff here and around his lips and stuff. I don't know if somebody beat him up in the meeting or what. What a total DH. Are you trying to say douchebag? Yep, he's so pathetic. Yep, so pathetic. What's that? So one dictatorial act is being replaced by another. Exactly. They want to put in place which will allow them to keep it there permanently. They will conveniently, now that they're being challenged in the courts about the legality and constitutionality of the continuous extension of the state of disaster, which is criminal. It shouldn't have been extended beyond 90 days. They are seeking to create a law and push regulations in place that will allow them to just keep these tyranny, these tyrannical, these freedom-stealing rules in place into perpetuity. That's what the ANC is up to here. Charlie Foxtrot. So it's harder to let go of the unlawful murder. It is. It's impossible to let go. So they're going to come up with another way to make it permanent. Fauci het self. He's a... Okay. What else we got here? We got... Come, sir, and try to jab me, says Mr. B. Murray McGregor, watch me fight my way into music events. Stick your jab up your bum, okay? Eric is, Robin's bored. I haven't ever worn one outside, only when I'm forced while entering a store, exactly. So disappointed in our traditional healers, Sun Gomez, 2 years, and they can come up with not. Yeah, exactly, Monran, I agree. What a joke. I see cops all the time not wearing masks in Cape Town. Exactly, Mr. B. Public prosecutor must investigate Ramaphosa's World Economic Forum connections. Counts as treason. Does he represent Davos or South Africa? He represents Cyril Ramaphosa in the ANC. It's all about Lutuli House, folks. You have to understand. Once you understand that everything that they do is for the enrichment and perpetual power base of the Lutuli House, then it all makes sense. Odin's Viking. PCR test, okay. SA is still using the flawed, okay. Get your head out of your ass, says Charlene. Yeah, but can they pick up the trash, says John. Exactly. Can someone tell this clown this game is over? Says Robin. New Zealand's rise coincided with relaxations. No, it didn't. It wasn't relaxation. New Zealand's rise coincided with no relaxation whatsoever. Yeah. They shook the bones, says Cameron. Bob says the fool can't even tie Windsor not properly. I was supposed to run a country. Exactly. Did you see that askew, his tie askew? That was really ridiculous, folks. Looked in the crystal ball and saw this fool hanging from a pole. Scientists said wearing masks. Okay, all right. Painful to listen to, it is. Borligo Media. Hey, Borligo Media. Good to see you there. How are things? Are you guys putting anything out? I haven't seen anything lately from you. Cancer is the biggest pandemic. Agreed. CB was here and his message is deleted. And then... Darker commie choking on... Okay, I won't finish that sentence. He's standing, so we're screwed, said Arctic. What else? Uncle Duncan Shack, I get all the beer ready for the show. Missed the earlier one as we got engrossed in work and the time flew. Oh, Mr. B gave a 35 Rand super chat. He will be late. Thank you for the super chat, Mr. B. Did I miss that at the beginning? Sorry. Please don't call him I was saying it facetiously, Levin. But yeah, I got you. Wasn't meant as respect. It was meant facetiously. Roy Hayes has been here. I always love Roy coming in, our Western Pennsylvania, enjoying the South African stuff. Peter Schoen, and then who else? Okay, so I pretty much caught up with that. Let me get back here at the bottom here and see what we missed. But yeah, this was a total waste of your time and mine, not watching my program, but listening to Ramaphosa, who clearly has no clue as to what he's talking about. Hey, Ruth, welcome. Nan Talzit Dumela. Dumela ba, what's Sihili Jang? Eh? Kit Sihili Sently. Kelabop. Jacques De Beer says, just joined. Did I miss anything? Well, you missed Cyril Ramaphosa talking about how you have until April 15th to comment on their effort to take their unlawful, unconstitutional extension, the perpetual extension of the emergency powers under the national disaster, Declaration of National Disaster, unlawfully continue. They want to switch it to regulations now and codify it law so they can impress upon you their rule into perpetuity and they can oppress you. So that's what you missed. You got to April 15th to comment on it, on these rules that they want to make into law so that they can actually get away with this stuff. That's what you missed. Beyond that, not much. The restraints on gatherings, outdoors, if you don't have... outdoors, 50% of capacity. Indoors, 50% of capacity. As long as you have proof of jab or you have a negative PCR test within 72 hours. Once again, enriching the PCR industry. Funerals have been raised. The limit from 100 to 200 people can attend a funeral. No night vigils, no gatherings at night. Masks are still mandatory in public indoor spaces. Screw that. You're not going to make me wear a mask in a mall. You're an asswipe. Not going to happen. He claims that 68% of people over the age of 60 are jabbed, and that just 35% of 18 to 35-year-olds have been jabbed. And he's got a campaign on to convince young people to get the jab. Beyond that, no real changes, just repeating the same nonsense. International travel, you have to have proof of jab, or a Sally Visser just subscribed. Thank you, Sally, for subscribing. Bye donkey. Thank you so much. So international travel, you still have to show proof of vax or a massive KMR 440. Did folks just come over for Ronaldo? Okay, I was going to say Desiree Jenkins. Well, Desiree, did you subscribe yet? Brian Noble, thank you very much. Thanks for tuning over, folks. You're listening to Chris Wyatt, retired U.S. Army Colonel and subject matter expert on South Africa, Marius Fourie. Thank you. Bye, donkey, for coming over. That's very kind of Ronaldo. Ronaldo, thank you so much. I appreciate it for sending folks over. You won't be disappointed in the content here, folks. You will enjoy it. But international travel, no change here. Quinn Reeds, thank you so much. Wow, it's nice to see that thing finally light up. The zombie has been asleep for weeks. Nice to see people finally subscribe. And thank you all for coming over for Ronaldo. 1,000, if you don't have the jab or you don't have proof of vax, Reader von Furen, thank you for subscribing. 1,000 indoor, 2,000 outdoor limitation. So once again, this is asinine. If you are inside Menlyn, you're restricted and you have to wear a mask. But if you go to Ellis Park, you can only have 2,000 people. Ambush Psy, that's an interesting username. Thank you so much for that. Just absolutely ridiculous stuff. But international travel, proof of vax or negative PCR test within 72 hours. There's no change there. Cyril wasted your time. He wasted my time. And Billy Bangy Films. Ooh, what kind of films are those, Billy? We have to find out about that. Mark says, again, nothing said about social distancing in taxis. Yeah, exactly. You can ride in a Combi, which has no functioning brakes, which is a death trap, which, there you go. You ride, go to the taxi stand at Peter Maritzburg and get in line with 1,000 people there, jump in the taxi where no one's social distancing, shoulder to shoulder, designed to carry 9 occupants, and there's 20 of you in the van with a vehicle that has 1 brake functioning, and they don't give a flying flip about that. Fikile Mabulula does not give a flying flip about that. But if you don't get your driver's license by the 31st of March, he will come after you. Of course, this is the same transport ministry that has 1 machine in a country of 60 million people to process driver's licenses. How broken and embarrassing is that? 1 machine. And a lot of people have been waiting 2 years to get their driver's license renewed or get their initial issue of driver's license. And now they're being threatened if they don't get it by March 31st. Piss off, Futsek. Piss off. Be gone. Fikele Mabulula. Yeah. So what else? He says the path out of this is the jab, that and wearing mask indoors. That's the which totally contradicts the Johns Hopkins University study, which of course was done by scientists, medical practitioners, real people, folks, not just bullshitters and Sangomas. Wait. Hang up, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to do now for you a live reenactment of how the National Coronavirus Command Council, an unelected, unaccountable, capricious, undemocratic body, has imposed restraints on South Africans for the past 2 years now. And now we start year 3 on the 27th of March, 28th, 5 days away. Here we go. We're in KZN. Picture this. You're in KZN, you're in Kanla. It's an indaba of senior ANC leaders and the Sangoma. I've tossed the bones. The bones tell me. The bones tell me. 6 more weeks of restrictions. That's the science involved by the African National Congress right there. They ignore the science. We've consulted with countries where they lifted the restrictions, and we've determined that we don't know what we're talking about. Uncle Duncan Shack finds my lack of faith in witchcraft disturbing. Regard Roberts, thank you for subscribing. Really appreciate that. Hey, folks, keep subscribing. Push us up. Hey, can we get up to 6,000 today? That would be nice. We used to have 23,000 before censorship and the banning of my 17-year-old channel, which never had a single complaint against it in 17 years. Isn't that amazing? But they went after that channel. So, yeah, let's see. What else does he say here? That's pretty much it. Ramaphosa just wasted people's time with this thing. It comes a week after they unlawfully, unconstitutionally extended the state of disaster for yet another month, which would make 25 months entering year 3 of the National Coronavirus Command Council, a fictitious, fraudulent body, which is just a bunch of bullshit ANC cabinet members, which, by the way, if they have a secret vote for a vote of no confidence for Ramaphosa's cabinet, that means that body will be discomposed. It'll be decomposed. The members of it will be gone. And Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma will no longer be the minister of uncooperative governance and irrational affairs. Ronnie Lamola will no longer be the minister of injustice. Bekele will no longer be the minister of criminality and gangsterism. Yeah, if the cabinet is found to be voted no confidence, they got to go. Now, that will take a secret ballot. And I'll tell you what, if there is a secret ballot, I'll bet you that they're all gone. Because even though the ANC has an insurmountable number, all they have to do is get their members to vote in Parliament, in the National Assembly, to vote to keep the cabinet. They will be removed in a secret ballot because there's some hungry hippos in the ANC that want those jobs. You move up, you get rid of the people there. That's how you do it. The example has been set, ladies and gentlemen. The example has been set. Have you ever seen what's happened in KwaZulu-Natal over the past decade? If you're a young, ambitious member of the ANC and you want to be a local councillor so you can get on that council and get those tenders, get that BE, get that money, it's your turn to eat. All you do is hire some thugs from Joburg to come down and assassinate your rival. Boom! You're on the council. It's a time-proven technique in the ANC. Same thing will happen here. If it's a secret ballot, then the cabinet's gone. Now, ANC won't get rid of Ramaphosa. It would be too embarrassing. But the cabinet, Bekele and Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma, gone. Yeah, so we'll see what happens with that Democratic Alliance motion for a vote of no confidence against the cabinet. So we'll see. But they would be gone. And with good reason. With good reason. These ghouls are thieves. By the way, Dr. Zweli Mkhize, accused and relieved of corruption in the Digital Vibe scandal. He's still in Parliament. He still gets a paycheck. No, I know, Tion. They're not going anywhere. It's because it's not a secret ballot. You don't need support from Ronaldo supporters. The DA supports the jab. No, Artful Dodger, but I do need numbers back. It makes it easier to get big names for interviews. I've experienced some challenges getting some big names to come on the channel. Also had a few people who, after checking out my channel, balked, not because of the content or delivery or because of the way guests are treated, but because it was worth their time to come on the channel with 5,000 subscribers. When I had 25,000 subscribers, different story. Peter has to go. Thank you, Peter. Glad you were here for a brief encounter. Thanks, everybody, for popping in. Appreciate it. 122 likes. That's pretty good. We got a little bit of super chat money here. But mask still required in public indoor spaces. Wow. Mask not required outdoors. So if I go to Ellis Park to watch the Lions get thumped on, does that mean I get to sit in the stadium? Got to show negative PCR test? This says it. Now, the one restriction here that has changed, I noticed, is that they were only letting people into Greenpoint Stadium and letting them into Loftus and letting them into Kings Point and letting them into Kimberley and also into Ellis Park if you were fully jabbed. That's no longer the requirement. We just heard him say fully jabbed or negative PCR test. So if you're a South African who is not fully jabbed and has no intention of getting it, just show them one of these rip-off PCR tests, and then you can get into Loftus or wherever you want to go watch your rugby. Let's see what happens. So that takes effect in the morning. Let's see what it does to the crowd tomorrow. Will there be last-minute ticket sales and walk-up ticket sales tomorrow at Ellis Park? Tomorrow, folks, we got two games on tap on Rugby Ascendant, our sister channel. I'll be giving live commentary, color commentary, and play-by-play for two games tomorrow. First off, it's Western Province versus the Pumas at Greenpoint. So we'll see if more people than 2,000 show up. And then also later that day, it's the Lions versus the Bulls at Ellis Park. We'll see what happens. Both venues have been limited to just 2,000 spectators until now. So we'll see what happens. On March 4th, Shabir Mahdi had an article on Biz News where he inflated deaths. Yeah, exactly. Malema on Russia and Ukraine. There are Nazis in Ukraine, he said, using the excuse Russia. Yeah, no, he's Andre Creel. Julius Malema is a jackass. He's also a race hustler, and he needs to be in prison for his crimes. Not the least of which is endangering public safety, firing a loaded firearm into the air. Yeah, hand sanitizing required where you have one chance at. Yeah. Okay. Jacques de Beer is telling Leovin, please tell me that's not true. Medical background is medical background unless they start asking whether I'm circumcised. What did Leovin say that's got Jacques de Beer asking that question? Let me take a look here. Rob, what a tosser. Ramaphosa's communist thug. No surprise they're just venting. Yeah, you're welcome to vent. Anyway, I'm going to relax and watch your cast. As most of us, I'll get up in the morning and do a bit for my family. There you go, Rob. Well, welcome, Rob. But what did Leovin say that has got that question coming here? Oh, jab status excluded, issued by health department, non-health. My language skills improved again. No idea what you're talking about there, Leovin. What is she talking about? Boom shakalaka. Where have you been, man? You've been AWOL. Haven't you? Carl Brown. Those scientists were white racist colonists dedicated to the oppression of their... That's what it is. I missed that. It's a white racist colonialist. Yeah, with the engineers from Coburg. Yeah, they're probably all in collusion. They met at some place, some exclusive, Plumwania in the Northern Cape, where they meet and exclude people from going. My medical act is private. My Poppy Act protects against devaluing personal information, excluding... Not sure how they want to get past that law. Oh, well, fair point there, Jacques de Beer. I like your avatar. Pretty colors there. Erica said, I saw in a news feed that they want to digitize driver's license, which means I have to take my cell phone everywhere. Well, that's great, Erica, until your cell phone is stolen. Or if you're a woman, you go to sit down on the toilet. It's in your back pocket. And you forget it. You drop it in the toilet. Yeah, in the commode. Yeah, that's the dumbest thing since sliced bread. Putting people's information on mobile phones is risky from a security standpoint. It's also physically dangerous. It's a problem. This is why I've said for years, the whole jab industry thing and talking about giving you a digital passport for your jabs is a scam. Why is that? Because since 1938, this has been the international standard. The yellow card from the World Health Organization. Now, they didn't exist in 1938. This was an international agreement, started with 43 countries in 1935, went into effect in 1938. And these are my jab books from over the years. 1, 2, 3, I think there's 7, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different jab books, including one from South Africa. Look at that. Ooh, World Health Organization. This is the gold standard. Now, when they lie to you and say that, well, that can be faked, I can fake everybody's digital certificate. I can go in right now and give you all fully jab stuff by messing with the electrons. It's not hard to do, folks, and it has been done. So that's just fraud. Also, when I arrive at a port of entry in Tanzania where there's no electricity because they can't generate it, and the immigration officials can't let me in the country because they can't check the database, but if I have this, I can prove that I've been jabbed. Dietrich Bucha has just given 70 Rand super chat. Also bedanke mich. Es ist aber nett von dir, Dietrich, sehr gut. Herzlich willkommen bei uns. Es ist immer gut, dass du da bist und wir sind sehr froh, dass du daneben bist. Okay, welcome. Thank you, Dietrich. Thank you for the 70 Rand super chat. Very kind of you. That's the second super chat in the stream. Thank you, guys. Yeah, so these have been the gold standard. So this, to prove that you're jabbed, is fraud. This is a way to enrich the elites. This is an effective way to do it. This can be doctored and faked. So can this. So the argument that you need this to overcome fraud is a lie. It's a fraud in and of itself. These are the gold standard. And they have been the gold standard since 1938, nearly a century. So I don't want to hear the nonsense coming out. And by the way, oh, well, these could get wet. They could get lost. Well, your phone gets stolen, broken, or lost all the time. Whereas that is 5 decades of jabs right there in one sealed Ziploc bag to keep it from getting wet. And I carry this when I travel internationally. And there you go, folks. Just like that. Look at that. Looky there. Look at there. I don't need these frauds. I got it covered right there. They're all frauds. Anyway. So, by the way, the World Rugby rankings are out. And guess what? The Springboks, who were idle, remain in first place. But the All Blacks fall to number 3, courtesy of Les Bleus. Les Bleus, the French have sunk. They've sunk the All Blacks, moved ahead of them on points because they beat England. Congratulations to the French, who move up to their second time ever at the second in the world rankings. And congratulations to the All Blacks, who fall to number 3 once again, where they belong. They belong further down, but that's good, number 3. So, Boom Shakalaka says, KFC bones they toss around. Probably. Lynn, already changed the health system to incorporate this BS. Oh, that's pretty scary. Pretty scary. Okay. Quite tempted to immigrate to the Congo. The Chombe family guarantee my safety. It's not about vax, but about the repeated medical procedure erroneously called a jab, which is and will be the only way to obtain the digital ID that they're continually talking about. The All Blacks are not happy, Hendo. No, they're not. But they were idle. This is what happens with the Six Nations. It's timed perfectly so the Northern Hemisphere nations can rise in the rankings. Of course, they tend to play each other. Wales, Ireland, Scotland, and England and France are among the top 10 always. So you only get up the rankings by beating highly ranked teams. So if you beat a highly ranked team and you're on the table like France did, you climb. And that's what happened. Whereas the only highly ranked teams that New Zealand and Australia play is South Africa. Those three. Argentina's in the top 10 now, so I suppose you could say that's 4 teams. But anyway, there you have it. Digital ID is a precursor. Yeah, it's all bullshit. It's all intentional. But anyway, folks, Ramaphosa wasted our time. I mean, he really, really wasted our time. And my apologies to everybody for suffering through that nonsense. Absolute nonsense. This is all so sad. So sad. You know, here in the U.S., we got these pontificators that don't know their rectum from a hole in the ground trying to get us involved in the Ukraine conflict. Now, this is coming from a combat veteran and a person who served 36 and a half years in uniform, which people that don't know anything about uniform go, oh, you guys are probably all pro-war. No, never was pro-war. I served in war. It's not a pleasant experience, and it's not good for anyone. Not the environment, not humans, not wildlife. No, it's not a good thing at all. Geopolitically, it's a terrible thing. But what I'm telling you is that we have idiots like Chuck Todd, a brainless twit who works on television, demanding answers from Jens Stoltenberg, the Secretary General of NATO. Why isn't NATO protecting Ukraine? Well, pretty simple there, Chuck Todd. Ukraine is not a signatory to the NATO treaty. Ukraine is not in NATO. NATO is not an offensive body. Never mind what it did in Afghanistan, in Libya, and in the Balkans. It is not a defensive body. It was created for defense against threats to member states, of which there are now 30, including Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia, and maybe very soon Finland or even Sweden. Pretty crazy stuff to consider that Finland, the very definition of neutrality, Finlandization for decades, is now interested in joining NATO. Yeah, serious talk in Finland about joining NATO over Russia's actions in the Ukraine, fearing they could be next. Chris, please give your thoughts on the POPI Protection of Personal Information Act active in South Africa regarding this topic. I'm not that familiar with that. Oh, the Flying Boar is back. Flying Boar is back, and he's making a campaign for me to be ambassador to South Africa again. You know, when Trump was running for re-election, a lot of people were saying that I should be the ambassador to South Africa, and I appreciate that. That's very kind of my audience. But thank you, Flying Boar, and thank you for the $5 super chat, man. You know, when it comes to Ramaphosa, if it walks like a duck, if it talks like a duck, well, it might just be a babbling idiot, Ramaphosa. Duck call. Flying Boar has given a super chat. It hasn't come up yet. Waiting for it. There it is, right there. Thank you for the super chat there, Flying Boar. It's always great to see that. Canadian dollars are appreciated. I'm really not sure what you want me to say about it, Jacques. We have something here. We have a HIPAA law which prevents people from disclosing information. You know, it's illegal for the government to ask me for my medical status. That's illegal. They can't do that. Yet they're doing it. It violates federal law. It's interesting. Chris, don't kiss any ass, so he can't. Yeah, that's true, Carl. I don't. Not even Trump's. Yeah. So, Poppy is just another money making scheme. Yeah. Well, it is. I think that's a fair statement there, Arctic. There's a number of things going on in South Africa, all intended to make the playing field even more skewed to help cadres and enrich their patronage network. That's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. Can buy the ID for $1,200. Yeah, exactly, Anthony. Well, I mean, you just talk to a Nigerian, you can get whatever you need for a few cents. It's not that expensive. Andre says, no ducks here, only chickens. Well, they're still foul. Instead of the pot of gold promised by the Rainbow Nation, we're getting a crock of manure. Well, you're getting fared cock, specifically horse crap. Yep. Most people who have been in combat do not wish that anybody. Exactly, Roy. Exactly right. Yeah, so, by the way, folks, let me just cover this very quickly. We've still got a decent audience here, and there's some new folks here who've come in. So let me just mention this because you probably had my coverage of this before. The Films and Publications Board, I had an article recently published on Morning Shot last week. By the way, there was a couple typos in there. My apologies. I sent the wrong version, and it got published, so that's on me. But the essence of the analysis is still there. The Films and Publications Board Act is an intentional effort to silence political speech in South Africa, just like expropriation without compensation. People are like, oh, it's all about righting wrongs. It's not about righting wrongs. That was 1995 to 99 when 75,000 plus land claims were filed, 74,000 which were long ago settled, mostly for financial compensation, and it wasn't adequate. We can make that argument. But the point here is that they were settled a long time ago. The expropriation without compensation is entirely about property. And while a lot of people are lost on the farmland issue, which is part of it, expropriation without compensation is about taking your property, stocks, bonds, retirement accounts, buckies, cars, jewelry, homes, condominiums, boats, anything you own. The state can confiscate it legally. That's why they want expropriation with compensation, so that if you dare say anything against the government of the day, they will take your property and they don't have to justify it. And there's no recourse on your part. You will lose in a court of law because that's the law of the land. That's what that's about. And the Films and Publication Board Act that was just updated has one provision in there that actually makes sense. It's about revenge porn. And that's actually a good inclusion. The rest of it is just total horse manure. Total Ferdcock. It's total horse manure. It is about silencing your right to speak. First off, if you publish, and that could be on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, wherever you publish a video, or for that matter, an audio recording like a podcast, you must have a license from the Films and Publication Board, which has gone from a motion picture rating agency to a government-controlled body with authoritarian rights and powers to force you to be licensed. If you're not licensed, you can be sanctioned and punished with a fine or potentially imprisonment. And why would you have something like this? They can never enforce it. Think of the hundreds of thousands of videos recorded on TikTok, on YouTube. Ronaldo just did a video. Joe Emilio just did a video on YouTube. Thank you for the super chat there, Mr. B. 140 Rand super chat. Thank you for that very much. They just did videos. They just did live stream. Under the law, they're criminals. Now, the law has yet to gazette what the actual restraints are and what the requirements are. That once those are written up, then they can go after those content creators. And if you have a Facebook page and you put your daughter's wedding video on there, you have to have approval. You have to license and approval. They can't go after the hundreds of thousands of videos and video producers that are in South Africa every day. They can't do it. It's impossible. But what they can do, ladies and gentlemen, what they can and will do is if you speak out against the government, they'll come knocking on you digitally and take your content down and fine you, and or imprison you. What did Arctic say? K97 is back. What's going on? I still don't understand why lockdowns continue. Because it suits the needs of the political elite, Kane. Joe Biden just had a State of the Union address a few weeks ago in which he basically said, my words, not his. He took a victory lap. I have defeated Rona single-handedly. I am responsible for the end of Rona. I ended it. I did it all. I'm responsible. Yay. Basically, that's what he said. Guess what? Then he extended the national state of emergency. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. What's your justification, Joe Biden, for extending the state of emergency if you just took a victory lap on Rona? There's no justification whatsoever. Jacques agrees with Arctic in a sense that this is ANC we're talking about. However, in the court of law, you would be protected as part of the Human Rights Act now. What Human Rights Act are you talking about, Jacques? There is the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which isn't law. It's an agreement, but there's no force of law that over 100 states have entered into, including South Africa and the USA. And Arctic says the Poppy Act still has to be challenged in court. Yeah, I think it will be challenged in court, like so many things are being challenged now. Yeah, Marty 1970 says, for me, I'd rather give up sports and music stadiums and stay at home safe. It's easier picking up a virus from any groups of acts or not. Tired of the charade. Yeah, Marty, I think a lot of people say that, but I'm missing on hockey. I've really missed it, and we're coming up on the playoffs in the American Hockey League, the East Coast Hockey League, ECHL, and the National Hockey League. Looking forward to it. I'm really excited about seeing Marc-Andre Fleury play for Minnesota. I never would have had a Minnesota jersey, but now I'm going to consider getting one because he's playing for Minnesota. Folks, be sure to smash that like button. Doesn't cost you anything but a moment of your time. I think we got 142 likes. Can we get to 150?
That was easy.
It's right below the video screen. Just push that button right down there and make it happen. Anyway, so yeah, I recently went to CPAC. For those who don't know, there's coverage all over the channel of videos, my interviews for political candidates. And also this week, programming announcement for the folks that are here that are new. This week, Kevin Sorbo, Hercules, and Captain Dylan Hunt of the Andromeda Ascendant from the Systems Commonwealth will be my guest on Thursday right here on Chris Wyatt Africa. Tune in. Kevin Sorbo will be my guest. He was at CPAC. I met him at CPAC, and he promised to come on my show. We've set it up. It's for this Thursday. Looking forward to it. So, yeah, this is the theme from CPAC this year. CPAC, for those who don't know, South Africa is the Conservative Political Action Conference. It takes place every year. Now they do it twice here in the U.S. They do it in Orlando, Florida. It used to be done in Maryland, but the Republican governor of Maryland has still got restrictions, so they moved to Florida last year. They did it again this year in Orlando. Brilliant location down there in Orlando. And then they also do it in Texas. And I might go to the one in Texas later this year. I'm debating that. Got other things going on, folks. All kinds of rugby going this year. We've got the Women's World Cup, in which the cowardly New Zealanders delayed from 2020 to 2021, or 2021 to 2022. So that's delayed a year. We have the Rugby League World Cup delayed in England from 2021 to 2022. We have the Sevens World Cup scheduled for 2022 in Cape Town to be played at Greenpoint in 2020. That's 3 World Cups I've got to cover this year. And so my dance calendar is pretty full. So don't need things to be moved around. But anyway, so this is the Awake Not Woke was the theme of CPAC. It was absolutely brilliant, folks. Really good experience. I was there to hear Voldemort speak. You guys know who Voldemort is, right? I think a lot of people just left when I started about other things here. And that is he whose name we dare not say, and that is Donald Trump. Get events organizers to fight back. Yeah. I read the film's publication. I'm sure it also applies to bloggers who post on any platform, which I do. They get the middle finger. Yeah, exactly, CyberRags. Now, News 24 is carrying the water for them and claiming that it doesn't apply to just the average person. It has to be only people who are doing it for commercial gain. See, that's bullshit. That's not what the law says. Now, they may put regulations in place that put that in place, but the law is designed to go after anyone who publishes any video content whatsoever in audio. Jan Jordan says there's not much difference between FPA and censorship in communist China. Yeah. Welcome, Jan. Good to see you there. And the Hendo just put my Rumble account up. Section 36 Constitution says that any right in the Bill of Rights can be limited by a law of general application. I'll have to reread that, Carl. I've read South Africa's extremely lengthy constitution on more than one occasion, but I'll have to reread that because I don't recall that. I may have missed it. I'll take a look at that. South Africa's constitution is quite lengthy, folks. It's considered to be the most liberal constitution on the planet, in case you're unaware of that. New window. So there we go. I'll put that in there. All right, let me save that for later, and I'll take a look at that when I get on the break. They said they will not mandate jazz, but they mandate jazz for public places. Actually, no, Marlena, that's not what happened. What he did say is that you can go to sports events, like stadiums. You can go to music events, outdoor events. You just have to have proof of vaccination or a negative PCR test within 72 hours, which is ridiculous. Basically, you'll be taking tests 3 times a week for the rest of your life with this bullshit. It's total nonsense. That's the problem. So, yeah, they need to get beyond this and stop overreacting. He's claiming 100,000 South Africans have died from it. We know that's BS, too. Just like in America, they're claiming, 800,000 have died. That's BS. We've already had the CDC readjust the numbers downward for children and also for adults. They just dramatically reduced the number of people because they were fraudulent data points they were using. They were just aggregating data illegitimately. So, pretty crazy stuff. Anyway, and I said that all along. On my old channel. I said that the authorities are doctoring information here as we are going along, and they're lying about things. They've been lying about everything for over 2 years now. Everything. And I can't go into much more depth on that because I would get censored and get a strike on this channel if I actually gave you the factual information. I can't provide factual information on this platform. Can do it on other platforms, yep. Rob, Sevens in Cape Town, tickets, flight, and accommodation booked, can't wait. Well, Rob, tickets were a pain in the ass, weren't they? Weren't they a real serious pain in the ass to get tickets for that Sevens? That damn site was choked, just like the 2023 French site, which is bullshit. The French site, the way they're selling tickets, they just had another window selling tickets to the finals. And you couldn't get in, and then by the time you could get in, it was closed. It was bullshit. Well, Rob, I wonder where you're staying in Cape Town. That'd be pretty cool. Flight booked already? That's pretty crazy. You booked your flight already. Here from the U.S., we can't book flights because we don't know who's going to be flying. We're still waiting to see who gets the Gate Award for Cape Town. They've got 5 slots at Cape Town, and United and Delta are fighting over those slots. There are 4 slots. They want to divide them evenly between the 2 of them. So I don't know what's going to happen at Cape Town because I suppose a lot of what had also happened is fly to Joburg or Tambo and take a South African Airways or a Kululu flight. Well, South African Airways, as if they'll be in the air. Yeah, you don't want to be flying to our Tambo, being stuck having to rent a car and drive from Joburg to Cape Town through the Free State and the Karoo, only to turn around and have to take your car all the way back. No, you don't want to do that. Fudging numbers from the beginning. Yes, they have, Hendo. Absolutely, from the outset of this thing, they have been fudging the numbers. Bit off topic, but I'm curious why Joe Biden sanctioned Russia. Well, Jacques, what are we talking about? What sanctions? There's been a whole host of sanctions. And what's your confusion? What Joe Biden should have done is in March of 2021, he should have sanctioned Russia. And he also should have stepped up deliveries of weapons and training to the Ukraine. That's what he should have done as an act of deterrence. He also should have started doing bilateral exercise with the Ukraine. In March and April, May, June, we should have been doing bilateral exercise with the Ukrainians on special forces, on air operations, on transport, things like that. That would have sent a very clear message. But no. Joe just ignored what happened last year. He ignored it. No actions taken whatsoever. Arctic says, give me a shout. We'll hook you up to Cape Town from Joburg. By the way, you're my uncle if anybody asks. Well, that'll work, Arctic. I may have to exercise my South African connections to keep the cost of my trips to South Africa within reason. Erica was sending me a message earlier today, something about going to Giselle's concert, and she said, "Are you going to go?" I'm like, "Well, it costs money to travel. You got to do no more than hopes and dreams." So, Carl Brown says it means that if a law is passed that applies to all people equally, that same law can legally limit certain rights contained in the Bill of Rights, like proposed expropriation bill. But the thing is, it doesn't apply equally. That's the thing, Carl Brown. The application of law will be done capriciously, and it will target minorities. So it may be written to say it affects everyone, but we know that's not the case. So a legitimate court would throw it out as unconstitutional. Lockdowns, regulations for death rate. Yep, at this point, TB is killed. Oh, yeah. No, I reported that in 2020. There's no doubt about it. Tuberculosis killed more South Africans than the Rona did. I don't know what the 2021 numbers are because they haven't been released. But I know that in 2020, more people died from tuberculosis than Rona. More people. And I suspect that more people died from HIV in 2020 and 2021 than from Rona. Yep. Maryland's got luxury accommodation in Joburg. Well, cool. Well, where are we talking about? The northwest side of town? Yeah, that sounds good. Not Alexandra. I've been to Alexandra. That's not luxury. Just saying, Maryland. That's not luxury. Yeah, Santon City's getting kind of dodgy. Not last time. One time I stayed in Santon City. Stayed in one of those, lodges. It was really nice. Didn't have any water for a few days because the water that came to Santon was coming through Alexandria and the pipe was broken or damaged, and it took several days. So can you imagine that? If the architects of apartheid realized that the water for Santon City was coming through Alexandria, they probably would have wet their pants. Carl Brown says, I agree. Yeah, Carl, exactly. But it's a crapshoot. We saw in South Africa when the coronavirus Command Council started their nonsense 2 years ago, we saw people challenge the Tourism Relief Board. The Tourism Relief Board came up with a piece of racist policy. They put it on their website, then they denied it. They removed it. But people got screen captures of it, and they downloaded the forms, which said that if you're not black, don't bother applying. My words, not the words, but it said if you're not black, you can't get it. Just like the YES scholarship thing, which is youth employment system. That's bullshit. It's racist. So people in the tourism industry thought they'd get relief from the Tourism Relief Fund because they were prohibited from having tourists. The government shut down travel. It shut down people staying in hotels and such. So they thought they could get relief. So they applied to it, and then you couldn't. They tried to cover it up. Well, that was sued. That thing went into the courts, and I forget who it was, Solidarity. Somebody sued them, or maybe it was DA. And the North Gauteng High Court said it was legal. How can it be legal when it makes the decision based on skin pigmentation? It's immoral, it's unlawful, it's unconstitutional, it's illegitimate. Yet it stood. The Tourism Relief Fund. Now, to be fair, the Tourism Relief Fund wasn't really much of anything, and the most money anybody gives about $3,000 out of it. 45,000 rand or something like that was a joke, or maybe 70,000 rand. It only really was designed to help people sell curios, people who have small taxi businesses and things like that, or tour guides. It didn't help hotels, lodges, didn't help tour companies or airlines. There was not enough money there to help them. But still, it's racist. It never should have been in place. Never should have been in place. Marilyn says, I'll order Lovu. Lovu sugar? Mondog Dragon says, how's it going? Well, it's going all right, man. My nose is bothering me a little bit today. Please start the South African Party and I'll vote for your party. Well, thank you, Jacques de Beer. It would be great to do something. I mean, look, Action SA is just a distraction. The only parties that are, there aren't many parties working for South Africans. Maybe the ACDP is trying to work for South Africans. The Freedom Front Plus is trying to work for South Africans. The DA says it's working for South Africans, but the DA is working for the DA. They are like any other large organization. They exist for themselves. In fact, I recently saw where the DA is upset with broad-based Black African empowerment. And yay, well done, DA. Except that they want to replace it with sustainable economic development standards. So you go from, you can only do contracts with the government if you're owned by people with dark pigmentation, to a system which they say you can only do contracts with the government if you can prove that you're providing jobs for people with dark skin pigmentation. The hell is that? The hell is that? That's just asinine. When you hinder a business, you hinder all South Africans' development. Simple as that. Who do you think works at these hotels that are owned by Indians or owned by coloreds or owned by whites? Mostly black South Africans, you morons. So stop it. UDM. What about UDM? I've interviewed Bantu Holomisa and also interviewed his number 2. UDM, I think, has fallen on hard times. So maybe it's working for South Africans. I don't know. They do stand up on occasion, and Bantu Holomisa himself in particular stands up on occasion and says the right things for South Africans. But they have had some questionable actions the past 2 years themselves. So, but thank you, Andre. Yeah, the UDM, the United Democratic Movement, Bantu Holomisa, who's a good guy. I like him. I've interviewed him a couple times on the program. CyberEgg says, I keep a bath full of water just in case we have water outage. Yep. Oh, you leave in Peter Maritzburg. Yeah. Well, do you know is it the Wartburg that's north of there? Let me see. Is that still in business? Last year, someone told me it was. The Wartburg. I've stayed there before. Nice place. The food was decent too. The Wartburg in. There it is. Let me get that picture up there. There it is. The Wartburger Hof. Oh, yeah. I like that place. Yeah. So let me bring that up so people can see it. Here we go. Copy. And I need to bring it up over here. So the Wartburg, I've been there. It's a nice place. Kind of reminds a little bit of Germany. So here you go. This is what it looks like for those who've never been there. I understand the owner, somebody said committed suicide a few years back. That's pretty frightening. But that's the Wartburger Hof. Not quite German, but similar to German look. And actually, they had really good food there. Yep. The Wartburger Hof. That's north of Peter Maritzburg. My hubby grew up in Wartburg. Okay, well, thanks for sharing that, CyberEggs. Now we know CyberEggs is a lady. I never knew that. No political solution to what? Hello, Odin's Viking. Good to see you there. Monterey Seabird says 300 Rand in Cape Town shut down. Stay clear. Protest action. SAPs unseen. Oh, R300, not Rand 300. The R300. Okay, thanks for that. There's an update. Wow. We got Monterey Seabirds playing the role of early warning here, as if we've got Sightlanders helping us out. That's pretty cool. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, the Wartburger Hof is... the town is 27 kilometers northeast of Peter Maritzburg, 31 kilometers south of Greytown. Yep. Named after the Wartburg Castle in Thüringen, where I've been, where Martin Luther translated the Bible into German. Yep. A noticeable population of German-speaking citizens still live in the area around the town. The town is mostly supported by surrounding agriculture, mostly sugarcane and timber production. 2 schools, the Wartburg Kirchdorf School and the Georgianell School. And then, of course, we got the Wartburger Hof. Yep, Wartburger Hof Hotel. Now, they had a website. Let me see if I can't find that real quick. There it is, Wartburger Hof Hotel. It's Kayak, Facebook. I can't get to Facebook right now. Here's the actual site, I think. Is this their site? Oh, here you go. We can take a look at it here. This is cool. Whoops. I don't want to book. I'm not trying to book. Get out of there. Okay. So... yeah, this is a nice nice dining hall. I like that. It's a nice area here. The bar is in the back to the right there is where the bar is. From that image, if I'm correct. I didn't realize I had a pool. Nice room. Look at that. Look at that. That's nice. Very nice. There you go. That's dining. Reception. Outside. Beautiful place. Lovely place. Very German there with that shrunk. Put your clothes up in the corner. Very German-like. Yep. Okay, what else? A man can have a husband. What are you talking about, man? Who can have a husband? Okay. Also, previous owners got murdered at the Wartburg. I thought... Oh, the owners got murdered. I thought the guy committed suicide. You should come out to Piggly Wiggly in Howick. Piggly Wiggly? I don't know that. There's a Piggly Wiggly grocery chain in the Deep South here. Piggly Wiggly Howick. Okay. I don't know that one. Piggly Wiggly. Okay. It's a coffee shop, it says here. Okay. In the Midlands. Okay. Oh, reservation information. Piggly Wiggly. Piggly Wiggly is situated in the heart of KZN Midlands on the R103. Beautiful property of Highgate. Okay, yes, I accept your cookies. Hour and a half from Durban, 5 hours from Joburg. Synonymous with the quintessential weekend away. Activities, retail, eateries. No plastic balloons. No outside food. Well, that's fair enough. Steve van Weingard. Okay. What do they got here? Eateries. Let's see what they got here. A coffee shop, a pizza place. Okay. Chocolate Heaven. Ooh, okay. Pizza place. Pantry. Wedgwood. Huh. Okay. Well, Piggly Wiggly. I'm not familiar with it. About Us. Okay, let's see what it says. About Us. Rudy and Cindy Cassier turned a dream into reality. Let's start off as a simple farm stall has flourished. A successful enterprise. Rudy and Cindy bought Highgate Farm in 1996. The vision of a simple farm life to provide for their children. Started off as a vegetable farm with the intention of providing for community and local farmers. There it is. Construction of Piggly Wiggly. First structure to be put up was the thatched building where the coffee shop is. Worked around the clock. Okay. Huh. Who we are. There they are. Rudy and Cindy have 3 children, Matthew, Nicholas, and Catherine. The intention of handing that legacy over to their children. 5 hectares of vines, variety of Merlot, Chardonnay, Pinotage, Cabernet Sauvignon, and Shiraz. Ooh, I like Cape Shiraz. But this is KZN Shiraz. They produce 18,000 bottles of wine a year. Interesting. All right. The Kazier family are personal and original, and therefore keeping tradition of bottling by hand, labeling. Okay. Well, I promise you this. If I get to KZN sometime soon, I'll try to get there, and maybe I can interview them if they're up for being interviewed. That sounds pretty cool. Yeah. So, man, I can't wait to get back to South Africa. This is really driving me nuts. I've watched Piggly Wiggly growing over the years, says Erica. Yeah, they have quite a few shots. David Groenewald says, great place. Cyberg says, I'm a woman. Thank you very much, Pero Ruan. Well, Pero's always cheeky. Does Peppa the Pig live there? Says, Dollingers, have you ever been to Kroondal in Rustenburg? I think I've been near there. Let me just take a quick look there. Kroondal. Let me look at the map. Might jog my memory. Kroondal village in South Africa. Let me take a peek. Okay. Yeah, large German-speaking community. Yep. Okay, let me see real quick. There it is. Oh yeah, it's right off. Okay. Yeah, no, I've been there. I've turned off there. There's a toll booth there. I've gone off the Kroondal toll booth. Yeah, here it is. So you've got right there's Rustenburg and there's Kroondal right there. Yep. Yeah, I've been there. Evangelische Kirche, Lutherische Kirche. That's German. Evangelisch Lutherische Kirche. Yep. Yeah, I've been there. Yep. I've been there. Yeah, been by the N4 is a road I've traveled many, many times, folks. So I take it I come down the R49 from Gaborone, past Madikwe Game Reserve, down into Zeerust. Sometimes I take the 4 from Lobatse over here. Go to Zeerust, and then you got Swartrugens. You've got Groot Mariko. Here's Groot Mariko there. You've got Swartrugens here. And then you get to Rustenburg, come across the N4, which skirts there. And you go across to Pretoria. Yep. And the Mahalisburg is just below it. Yeah, I've been there. Carl Brown, the tale of discussions about venues and other irrelevant matters. Okay. So, ever been to Kroondal? Yes, I answered that question. Cool. Yeah, so that is yeah. There's some really cool places in South Africa, folks. If you've never been, if you're in South Africa, there's some really cool places you've probably never been. Really, really neat places. So how are we doing here? That stream was helpful. We gained about 20 plus. Not this stream is helpful. We gained about 20 plus subscribers. Still 40 short of 6,000. So I have to thank Ronaldo for that. Getting a few people to come over who don't know my content. If you've never been here, let me just do this real quick. I think most people here have been here for a while, but there might be a few new people. So who is this oak? Who is this guy? Well, I'm not South African if you haven't figured that part out. I always get attacked by black nationalists in South Africa accusing me of claiming to be a South African, and also leftist white hate wankers. I never claimed to be South African. I'm American, born and raised. Never been anything but American. But I have lived all over the world. I'm a retired U.S. Army colonel. Retired from the Army, not retired from life. I'm a journalist and a broadcaster, and I do it every single day, twice a day. The news and then Night Owls. We're into the Night Owls hour at this time, about 15 minutes from now is when we normally start at 9:30 South African time. My shows are typically based on South African time, unless there's something going, a breaking news story, I pop on for that. I am 36 years in the Army, 36 and a half, 23 of those overseas, with tours, 3 in Germany, during the Cold War, at the end of the Cold War, and then in this past decade. So 3 tours in Europe as a private sergeant, lieutenant, captain, and also lieutenant colonel. Then I did a tour in Italy. I also served in Tunisia, Liberia, Botswana, Malawi, Niger, Mauritania, Uganda, and Ethiopia in Africa. In addition to that, I'm an academic. I'm a published author in academic press and in popular press. I cover rugby, and also I do geostrategic political issues as well. I've been published in popular journals and in academic circles. I'm also now undertaking another book project to talk about intelligence services in Africa. I was an intelligence officer and a foreign area officer for sub-Saharan Africa. So I attended the graduate U.S. Army War College, Command General Staff College. I'm a graduate of L'École d'État-Major, the Staff College in Tunisia, where I attended there for a year. And I speak 6 languages, 3 fluently, 3 to varying degrees of proficiency, sometimes better than other times. One of them used to be fluent, but I rarely speak it. 3 of those languages are African languages, and I have lived all over the world, and I've served in combat several times in the Balkans, in Southwest Asia, and in Africa. And I have written for the President of the United States. I have worked at the tactical, the operational, and strategic level for intelligence. I've helped formulate foreign policy. I've served in multiple embassies abroad. I've worked with the CIA, the State Department, the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency. The list goes on and on. Foreign militaries. I've rebuilt the armed forces of Liberia, designed the intelligence infrastructure for Botswana in conjunction with a few other folks, and done HIV programs across the continent, yada, yada, yada. So anyway, for those who don't know me, that's a little bit about me, and that's what you're getting on this channel, is you bring that wealth of experience. Someone told me the other day, there's no way I could have served 36 and a half years in the Army. I'm too young looking. Even with this beard, this Pete Retief beard that I've been growing, hopefully I get a better outcome than Pete did. But this Pete Retief beard, or Coustelaré beard that I'm growing here, when I cut my hair short and you see more of the dark hair, and when the beard is gone, I do look much younger than my age. I've always looked younger than my age. So someone couldn't believe I'd spent 36 and a half years in the Army, but it's true. No embellishment. 1983 is when I entered active duty. Enlisted in June of 83 and entered on November 2nd, 1983. 36 and a half years. Paulie wants me to shave my beard off. Welcome, Paulie. Now I know you're here. Matthew says, to sum it up, an old geezer from America. Not really. Oh, that's right, Hendo. Yes, I did used to hang out with Elvis Presley when I was a small kid. My father was a general contractor who worked at Graceland, and I got to hang out. I met Elvis when I was a little kid, ran around Graceland. It's pretty cool. New subscribers, please come back. Chris gives more info on news in Africa and the world than most channels. I think he knows more about Africa than most of us. Please come back. Rob, I spent a portion of my national service at Bork's Luck. I only mention this because, in my opinion, the Eastern Transvaal is one of the most breathtaking, awesome places in the earth. You know, I don't have a lot of time there. I have gone down to Swaziland and driven through there. You know, one of the biggest discoveries for me was this. I didn't realize this. I know geography and I know places really well, but I didn't realize just how many places were growing trees as you get down there towards Swaziland or Eswatini. You get over around the where's it at? The R17, or is it the the N17? You take the N17 from Christie's Mare, you go past Warburton, you head over, and as you get up into the hills there, as you get close to Swaziland, there's the trees everywhere. It's just awesome. I didn't realize that, but that's a beautiful spot. Hartbeespoort, not Hartbeespoort, but Hartbeespoort. And then the other place, of course, I've driven through is Nelspruit. But I've never been north of there. I've never been to Kruger. So I like Nelspruit, and I like that area. That whole eastern portion there, what used to be the Transvaal, is quite lovely. What's going on with Biden, says Robert Zedek. Well, he's not there all there. He's not all there. Is that sweet Anglo-Saxon skin? It is Anglo-Saxon skin. I enrolled, by the way, earlier today into the Michigan State University program that's free for veterans to become a cultivator of bees, raise bees. So something I've always been interested in. So I enrolled in it for free. It doesn't cost me anything. And it's an online course. They do have a resident thing, but I think I missed the deadline to do that here in Pennsylvania. Anyway, so I enrolled in that. And they said, what's your race? Which I think is stupid, but I put down white or Caucasian. And they said, what's your ethnicity? It has Hispanic. And it says, if not, it's other. And I put other. And they said, what's other? And I put Anglo-Saxon. Where to start with Biden? Roy, that's exactly the question. Where to start? Yep. Yeah, no, that part of South Africa is just beautiful in so many respects in so many places, but it's not alone. Botswana is also beautiful. It may be sparse and it may be harsh, high desert chaparral terrain when you cross the border, but it's absolutely beautiful. You get up to the Noxie Pans, you get up to Maun, or you go up to Kasane. Just wonderful place. Botswana is an amazing place. It really is. It really is. Yeah, so Eswatini is also interesting, but the King's got to go, man. And Lesotho is beautiful, too. I've only been to Lesotho one time. I've been to Eswatini a few times. I've been to South Africa probably 450 times. Mbabani's awesome. There's a church surrounded by trees at the bottom of the slope. Well, I like the golf course there. I've golfed on that golf course in Mbabani. Yeah, what's the name of that course? It's like the Kings or something like that. Let me find the name of that place. Where's it at? Come on. Come here, map. There it is. Hilton Garden. They have a Hilton Garden in there. I didn't know that. Now that's interesting. Where's the golf course at? Oh, come on. I'm not finding it here. Hilton Garden Inn. I didn't know they had a Hilton Garden in there. That's interesting. So let me see. Golf course. See what the name of it is, because there's a lodge there. Just says Mbani Golf Course. Huh. Royal Swazi. Maybe that's the one. Maybe that's what I'm thinking of. Royal Swazi. Okay. I think it's a Royal Swazi, yeah. No, that's not it. That's in Lomba. No. Anyway, there's a golf course there in Mbabane that's quite nice. They got nice lodging there. I've stayed there a few times, so yep. Trying to find it here real quick, and it's not coming up for me. So anyway, not much. Okay, that's old. Why did I get back there? So High Chaparral, what, the television show? Ukraine has been a war zone for years. I mean, bees are a totalitarian monarchy. They are. They're all ruled by a queen. Wow, Colonel Chris, with beehives, can you handle that? There are totalitarian types set up with those nukes. Bees, that's awesome. Takes a good amount of money to get started. Some heavy lifting for care. Such a good cause. Honey is amazing. Well, Shawnee, I don't think I'll be able to have bees here on my property, although I talked to my neighbor yesterday who's got quite an extensive garden and blueberry bushes and he doesn't like the raspberries, but blueberry and lots of other things out there that flower. And he said, yeah, I'd love to have them. He said, my wife won't like it so much. She doesn't like bees. I'm like, but she's confusing bees with yellow jackets and hornets, which are nasty, and then bumblebees. That's not honeybees, European honeybees. That's what I'm talking about. They don't bother you. You don't bother them. They don't bother you. The thing is, I don't know that I can have them where I'm at. I'm in a peri-urban environment, so I'll check into it. So I don't plan on having the bees. I just plan on learning the skills so that I know it. My grandfather was a beekeeper. I think it's really important stuff. Bees are highly underrated. They're very important to our economy. While they're running around freaking out about the burning of fossil fuels, they ought to be spending more time worrying about colony collapse disorder and about the health of our European bee population. That's what I ought to be focused on. About how we trade. Oh, no, I don't want Ramaphosa for Biden. I don't want either one of them. So you can also have Trevor Noah back. We'll pay for his flight. Cynthia Loss, I'm hoping when you come to South Africa, you visit Port Elizabeth so we can. Yes, yes, Cynthia, that it's. I don't have a choice. If I come to South Africa and don't go to Port Elizabeth, I'm never going to live it down. Remember, a lot of people who've been with my channel from the beginning came from 3 places in particular. Cape Town, just by happenstance, KZN by happenstance, and Port Elizabeth, because a lot of people who were supporters of Ronaldo found out about my channel by listening to me on Ronaldo. So I have no choice but to go to the Eastern Cape, even if I don't want to go there. I'll probably fly into the airport, on the one flight a month that goes to Port Elizabeth. Andre's telling K97 we don't need another F. Fuck not. Yeah. Homesteader's going to thank you even more. Okay. Bumblebees don't bother people at all. I made a video last year which was petting them, their friends and great pollinators. Yeah, okay, fair enough. I wasn't picking. I didn't see honeybees last year. All I saw were bumblebees and hornets and wasp. Hornets and wasp are nasty little shits. Don't like them. No, Kane. We don't want Trevor Noah. He's a disaster. Matthew says, I hate the scorpion spiders from Namibia and Botswana. Those things are crazy. Almost gave me. Well, try the camel spiders. Those things will scare the bejesus out of you. Those are huge. Yep. Bumblebees don't bother people at all. You're right, cosmic cultivators. They don't. Already says 6 flights daily. You can miss them all. Port Elizabeth. I love it. Love the big bumblebees in Georgia. We don't have them. They even pollinate like they're gentle giant. Yeah, no, that's amazing. They're huge, and they land these little tiny flowers like on my raspberry bushes. Yeah. The thing I also don't like is the damn Japanese beetles. I had Japanese beetles a couple years ago, infestation, and I walk out and I find them. They're like doing their business. They're knocking boots and like crush them. And then the rest of them got cagey. They realized, ooh, look, these guys are dying. So they started flying away and have a hard time spotting them. But I would kill 150, 200 Japanese beetles by smashing them on my raspberry bush every single day. There was just a huge infestation of them. And little bastards were eating up the leaves on my raspberry bushes. So I got rid of them. That's a couple years ago. So, yeah. So they weren't back last year. Michael says, I wish they would bring the scorpions back. So the chicken hawks are useless. You're useless. The scorpions made themselves a target because they started going after the corruption in the African National Congress. Once that happened, they couldn't exist anymore. They had to take them out, and that's why they disappeared. Just can't have that. Can't have them doing that. Maybe look at Pinball's site in the U.S. Seem to have a big problem with bees dying all over the world. They are dying all over the world. Colony collapse disorder is a serious problem. It's not the only one. There's also mites that like to kill the bees. Yeah. Japanese beetles all over the grapes. We had fun for a child. Well, Roy, when the cicadas come, that's fun. But they're just noisy. They don't make a mess. I got stung by a hornet last year in between my toes. Ow, I bet that hurt. Ooh, hornets. We had, we here in the neighborhood, we had wasp. I had wasp out here. And they dug in the soil where it was poor soil. It's like stone. I mean, I don't know how that happened. And they dug their way in there, little gravel, and then they just came up out of there all the time and come over to the house and try to build their nest. Ugh, I had to take them out. It was a mess. Yeah, wasp and hornets are nasty. Wasp especially. Keep that little crap. He's finally found the woke, needy habitat he deserves. Today I saw a cobra snake. Whoa, that's kind of scary. I haven't seen that. People blame our high crime on poverty and inequality. What do you think is the cause of such? Oh, I can tell you what the cause. Michael, that's a very good question. Nobody's asking a question like that in a while, so let me address that. Okay, so Michael, if you're talking about South Africa, what's the high crime? What's it about? It has nothing to do with poverty and inequality. High crime has to do with a lack of parenting, and a lack of opportunity. Okay. Poverty is not the root cause. Inequality is not the root cause. I grew up in poverty. I didn't steal from people. I didn't murder people. I didn't rape people. I lived in a highly unequal circumstance in which I went to high school with people who had cars given to them by their parents, who went to the prom. They had class rings. They had sports jackets. I participated in sports, but couldn't even afford to buy a jacket to sew my letter on. To this day, I still have my letter from being a varsity sportsman, but I never had a jacket to stitch it onto. Never had any of those stuff. Never went anywhere. Never did any trips. Never went abroad. Didn't have anything. It didn't cause me to steal or rob. We lived at a time when we had no electricity. We didn't steal electricity. We didn't steal from people. We made do. We dealt with deprivations. You must have two parents. You must have parents engaged in the lives to inculcate values. How can anybody talk about crime in South Africa and ignore things like the death of Tafitso Pule, who was 9 months pregnant, and she was murdered and hung from a post because her boyfriend found her inconvenient. Lovely lady. How can anybody blame that on poverty and inequality? How can anybody blame poverty and inequality on the vigilante murder that just took place? Matthew Matthewson just subscribed. Thank you for that. The vigilante murder that just took place with a 26-year-old man in Northwest Province whose home was burned, his mother's home was burned to the ground because he supposedly stole a bag. A bag. They beat him with pangas and knob carries. They chopped him and killed him to death. To death, of course. And then they necklaced his dead body and burnt his remains to nothing. That's not poverty. That's not inequality. That's bullshit. That's poor parenting. That's no respect for life. That's a lack of faith in someone's life. All of these things combine to create this problem. My experience is that poor people in Africa, in Appalachia, poor people aren't thieves. Poor people aren't criminals. They'll deal with the deprivations if they have a good moral grounding, and they'll overcome them. It's not about poverty and inequality being the cause of crime. It's about lawlessness. It's about the lack of moral responsibility and teachings, whether it's faith-based or just straight-out morality. How cheap life is in South Africa isn't because the country doesn't have wealth. There's plenty of wealth. And it's not because some people have this much wealth and some people have no wealth. That's not the reason for it. The poorest I was never turned me into a thief. I didn't envy or hate people who had those things. I strove to achieve, to learn. When I realized I didn't have much money after being in the Army for a short period of time, I was curious, how do people get money? I'm in the Army. I can't start a business with a great idea. How do I make money? So I went to the library and I learned about investing. I taught myself about price to earnings ratios and about annual statements and about income and about investing and how cycles work for business and how it's all affected. Taught myself that. Started saving and investing at the age of 18, 19. Because I didn't want to be dependent on the state. I didn't want to be someone who never had anything. So poverty and inequality have nothing to do with crime. That's a lie. If anyone makes that claim doesn't know what they're talking about, Michael, they're full of shit. They're just some bullshit freaking academic or bullshit statistician who goes, oh, well, we have 40% unemployment and the Gini coefficient is way up here. That means that we have high crime. Gini coefficient doesn't explain gang raping a 13-year-old and then burning her body. Doesn't explain it. Gini coefficient and poverty and inequality doesn't explain kidnapping an albino girl who's 14 years old and a baby they think is albino. When they realize he's not albino, they just toss him into a swamp and he dies, an infant. And take the 14-year-old girl, ply her with antifreeze and dacha, get her drunk, murder her, chop her body parts off for muti. That has nothing to do with poverty and with inequality. That's bullshit. And people fall for it. Who falls for it? Poorly educated people. Low information voters. Low information people because they don't know better. That's why ANC Bantu education has been highly effective in dumbing down South African society. Did I answer your question, Michael? We have a major wasp problem, and one of our neighbors has beehives. I'm allergic to bee stings and allergic to antihistamine. Gee, many crickets, and it sucks. The law is the problem for crime because they protect criminals. That's true, too, and they're not prosecuting criminals. Also, there's this backlog of DNA, this poor investigating capability. I gave the answer in 1992 and 94 on South Africa's path ahead. South Africa didn't listen to me. I was nobody. I was just a captain. They weren't going to listen to me. But I gave the path, and I said how you fix this. And I said South Africa said be patient. Preach it. 67% children grow up without a father in South Africa. Exactly, Emil Therrett. That's exactly right. Evil teaches evil. No, what's this? Unemployment, lack of effective law enforcement. Unemployment doesn't explain poverty. It doesn't explain crime. It doesn't. No, it doesn't. I was unemployed. I didn't resort to theft. Totally agree. I work in Cape Town with staff. A lot of the people here are very good and hardworking. Yep. Rob says, well said, sir. Respect. Well, thank you, Rob. Appreciate that. Poverty is not the problem, but the lack of respect, dignity, education is the problem. Well, there you go, Kane. I just said that. Victim mentality, that also contributes. Did some reading on your guest, Kevin Sorbo, could be the most famous on the channel. He's got a massive following. I see he tweets some political stuff and doesn't like Brandon. Yes, Paulie. Kevin Sorbo is a conservative. That's why he was at CPAC, and that's how I met him. Kevin Sorbo is a dedicated, serious political conservative from Minnesota, which is odd because his state's a lunatic left state, but he grew up with great Christian values, and he's politically right. So, yeah, Kevin Sorbo has a huge following. I've been a big fan of his for a long time. I like his acting. Really good guy. I haven't got a response back on the link I sent him. I'm hoping that that he responds to that sometime in the near future. Let me just look and see if he's responded today because I've been busy. Kevin Sorbo. No, he hasn't. I sent him the broadcast link and everything. So I just I mentioned a few topics to discuss with him, his career, the films, the South Africa film. And anyway, so I'm just waiting to hear back from that. We sent that on Sunday, so hopefully he'll respond back. But that's Thursday. Yeah, he's huge. He will technically be the most famous, other than maybe Steve Hofmeyer, most famous guest I've had on the channel. But he's more famous than Steve Hofmeyer. He's known all over the world. There's a moral degeneration in South Africa. Zimbabwe is a lot poorer. But yeah, exactly, Michael. Thank you. Botswana, 40% of the population lives below the poverty line. You don't see the crime in Botswana that you see in South Africa. Namibia is desperately poor. Half the population there lives below the poverty line. More than half. You don't see the crime in Namibia that you see in South Africa. Hope he tweets. Yeah, I hope so too. Wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't that be great? I ought to send him a note. In fact, I'll do that. I'll say, did you get my message? And could you share it on your Twitter account, please? Carol says, you're such a brainiac no matter what income bracket you were born into. I wish I could have understood investing better. Yeah, no, it's I had to learn it. I taught myself, just like so many other things I taught myself. And now if I have an interest, I'll learn. Learning is a lifelong experience, folks. I've just enrolled at Michigan State University to learn how to do beekeeping. Am I going to keep bees? Maybe not, but I'll learn more about them. I know a lot about bees already, but I want to learn more in depth. So that'll be cool. Security companies do more to prevent crime than police officers. Oh, they do. There's 650,000 security guards in South Africa. G4S is one of South Africa's largest employers. Yep. Yeah, Paul, I wish you would tweet that link out. Yep. To your point, the same is reported in Ukraine, where the population of metros have access to international internet, where the rural areas don't. South Africa is very similar. Rural equals SABC. Yeah. No, there's definitely a point there, but it's more to it than that. I agree with you, Rob. Information is restricted. Well, it's not restricted. It's just not available. There's a difference between being not available and being restricted. Restricted, someone's actively keeping away from you. Not available just means that someone hasn't brought the means to you. You can't get it. This is one of the problems with what's going on in South Africa with Elon Musk trying to bring Starlink to South Africa. And, of course, Elon Musk is a South African, originally he's American now. He wanted to bring Starlink services to South Africa. And when he did, CASA, the communications board in South Africa, demanded that he give 30% of the equity in his South African holdings to a person who is black. Not sell 30%, give 30% to someone who's black. Why? Because it's not about wealth. It's not about job creation. It's not about anything but enrichment of cadres. And the plan is to take Elon Musk's equity. Let's say he puts $100 million in South. He gives $30 million to cadre tied to the ANC so they can dole it out to patrons. These people bring nothing to the table. And even if they brought something to the table, why should they have a right to own 30% of his company? That's bullshit. They didn't take 30% of the risk. They didn't take 30% of the brain power to create this system. They didn't take 30% of the time. They didn't take anything other than having black skin. That is no better than only being able to get a job under the National Party because you speak Afrikaans and you're white. Just as stupid, just as racist. And Starlink will bring broadband internet service to people in rural areas, exposing them to the world. And oh, by the way, Starlink is brilliant because it doesn't have to go through a terrestrial link. Everything will go through the satellite. Up and down, 2,000 satellites deployed around the planet, geosynchronous orbit, giving you broadband internet access all over the world. And when a country tries to shut down a site, well, you'll still be able to get it because you're not going through their routers to get there. You're going another way. So, yeah, Starlink is brilliant. And we'll see lots of companies like Starlink eventually polluting the skies with satellites. Crime would go down if law enforcement actually did law enforcement. That is true. There's no deterrence. They're a joke. Yep. Well, look at Chile. He's the biggest gangster in chief out there. Michael says, I was almost smash and grab in Cape Town, Felipe. They tried to throw a concrete block through a window into your face, and then they robbed you. A police station didn't answer when I was reporting. Exactly. That's part of the problem, Michael. Well, that, or we saw a few years ago on the R21 between Pretoria and OR Tambo, the R21. We saw people throwing cinder blocks over bridges and putting them out on the highway to disable motor vehicles, nearly causing people to crash and die. And then when they pulled over on the side after blowing their tire out or damaging their windscreen, they pull over and the criminals ran up and grabbed them and dragged them out of the car into the side, into the veld, and they gang raped them. Men and women were gang raped and robbed. This happened to dozens of people, and law enforcement did nothing about it for weeks. They finally got around to putting some people out there to observe these clowns. Yeah, it's pretty frightening. There's no deterrence to being a criminal whatsoever. Look at how many people are involved in cash and transit heist. They get away with it. Yeah, what a crock of shit, Andre. That's BE. Yeah. Erica says, when you come to South Africa, I'll introduce you to my German friend, Jutta, who lives on a farm outside Kokstad. She farms everything, including bees. Cool. Blame it on, well, yes, Andre, Jan van Riebeck, that mixed race, colored South African is evil. You know, he's part Indonesian. At least that's what the story is. So government had something similar for ISPs, but they want to do, yeah. No, and now they're going to give away 10 gigabytes of data. The government's going to take out of your pocket to give every South African 10 gigabytes of data. What the hell bullshit is that? That's nonsense. It's total nonsense. Evening, everyone. Hey, Shack Dweller. What did I miss with Hippo speech? Are we getting a gulag for medical science deniers? Yes, it starts tomorrow. Actually, at midnight tonight, which is in just 2 hours and 20 minutes. The gulag starts. The beatings will continue until morale improves. He said that funerals can go to 200 now instead of 100 restrictions. You can go to sporting events up to 50% capacity. So that means that Ellis Park could have, 25,000 spectators on Wednesday for the Lions game against the Bulls. If you're fully jabbed or you have a negative PCR test within 72 hours, which means a lot of people who aren't jabbed can go to the game now who couldn't go before. So what else? Anyway, all right. So uns is gevolg. If the service is free, you're the product. Exactly. That's the early days of the internet. Ooh, it's clicks. You know, free account. Well, you are the product, either through advertising or data collection and data aggregation. You are the product. Absolutely. Nothing is free in life, folks. Nothing is free. Some things are a better deal and a better bargain, but nothing is free. If you think something is free, you're not paying attention. Simple as that. Simple as that. Yeah, so it's 54 degrees outside today. What's that? About 12 degrees Celsius. Nice outside. Mr. B says there's an old saying, you can take the man out of the bush, but you will always act like he is in the bush. That man from the bush has no respect for life. Education is needed. Actually, I'd say that people in the bush, a lot of them are better adjusted to life than a lot of people in urban centers. Carl Brown says, good night. Thank you for being here, Carl. Appreciate it. Excuse me. It's time for me to go get a Frappuccino. Yeah. What else? You didn't miss a whole lot there, Shack Dweller. What did Arctic say? Arctic is thinking of becoming Sangoma. Why not? Nothing wrong with that. Anyway, information restricted. Yep, got you. Okay. Yeah. Well, poor education easily influenced, and even people who are educated can be easily influenced. I mean, the number of people who are educated that aren't very bright is just astounding. Yep. Yeah, Eric was just about to type nothing is free. No, nothing is free. Especially as freelance. I used to have this little wall poster when I was a kid. I got it in high school. It has a fish, small fish, eating like a little a worm or something like that. He's being engulfed by a larger fish, engulfed by a larger fish, engulfed by a larger fish. No such thing as a free lunch. What's your take on Gripen aircraft? Saw at the Air Expo that used to take place. Oh, the Gripen is a fantastic interceptor. It's really good for what you pay for it, what you get out of it. It's good bang for the buck. South Africa's decision to buy Gripens made sense from a military standpoint, but made no sense from financial or a threat standpoint. There's no threat to South Africa's airspace from any of its neighbors. Interesting enough, the leftist hate wankers are criticizing Botswana under Ian Khama. He looked at buying Gripens or another aircraft, and they attacked him as militarizing, the region. Botswana is militaristic. But they failed to note that Angola had upgraded its aircraft. South Africa bought Gripens, upgraded its aircraft. Zimbabwe bought aircraft and upgraded. And Namibia tried to buy Chinese fighters, except it was blocked by the U.S. because it went through a bank and it was under suspension. So all of the neighbors are trying to upgrade and modernize their fleets. Botswana's not militarizing. They're flying Canadian CF-5s that are 50 years old, and they are in disrepair. When I was in Botswana, the commander of the air arm, Major General Palady, had to ground the entire fleet. He took that decision because the actuators are used to eject the seats for an ejection weren't working. They had been, well, they might have worked, but they could no longer be certified. They've been certified past their useful shelf life. They were recertified, an exception. They were recertified a second time. Next thing you know, they're like 10 years past when they can be, don't even know if they're going to work. If you pull on it, it will even explode to kick the seat out of the jet in flight, which is a safety hazard. So he took the decision, which is embarrassing for Botswana Air Arm, but he did it to ground all CF-5s. So when I was in Botswana, I would go to Tembe Patswe Air Base, and I would see the CF-5s taxiing up and down the runway because it's the only thing the pilots could do. They couldn't get in the air. They were forbidden by their commander with good justification. So we had an impossible time finding because C5s you can find, or F5s you can find the actuators, but the Canadians put a different seat in it, a different way they configured it. So you couldn't use the ones that were built for the F5, of which there were a few thousand, like 3,000 F5s I think built, but there were only like 1,200 or 800, something like that, CF5s. So the CF5, the Canadian version, was built by them. There were almost no countries in the world that still had more recent actuators to kick out that seat. In the end, what happened is Major General Adnier from the U.S. Air Force's Africa, or 17th Air Force at Ramstein, was coming to to Southern Africa, went to Botswana. So we found, through my deputy, Major Shin at the time, who's Lieutenant Colonel Shin now in the North Carolina National Guard, he was able to find actuators in Saudi Arabia. They were getting rid of their CF-5s. They didn't need them anymore. And so they had actuators. So they took the actuators, they flew them to Europe, they put them on the general's plane, they flew them to Botswana, and he was in town for a couple of days, and then we went out to the airbase and watched them installing them in the aircraft, and everyone was so happy they could fly the aircraft again. But that was 10 years ago, 12 years ago now. It's 2022, it was 12 years ago. So now those are past that date too. So they need new aircraft. And when Botswana tried to buy new jet interceptor aircraft, they were accused of militarizing Southern Africa. What a bunch of horse shit. I wrote an article on that. In fact, let me see. Let me see if I can find, actually I know where I can find that article on my LinkedIn thing. So let me give me a second here. LinkedIn. Let me find my LinkedIn article, go to my profile, and that article was still up recently. I don't know if it still is now, but I'll take a look if it's still there. Come on, where's my articles at? Activity, no, that's not what I want. I want articles. Somewhere there's recommendations, articles. Here you go. Botswana's grip and plan highlights. Is it there? Defenseweb.co, South Africa. Oh, it's still there. Cool. So I'll show you this article I wrote. This is for Defense Web while I was still serving. Let me see. Paste and go. Okay, and I'll show this to you. And this thing was criticized. No more news of the Chinese plane and information on that, Paulie. We're still waiting for an update on that. Chinese will not be very forthcoming. Botswana's grip and plan highlights a need for a defense white paper, October 5th, 2017. Botswana's proposed $1.7 billion acquisition of Swedish-built Gripen multi-role jet fighters has drawn sharp criticisms from security analysts, foreign press, and domestic political opposition within Botswana. The arguments against the aircraft purchase highlight a general lack of awareness or understanding of the role of defense forces in Botswana's security apparatus, in particular, and the role of defense in general. More importantly, the criticisms bring to light a more pressing issue with regard to security policy and transparency. Namely, Botswana is in desperate need for a public defense and security sector review or a study to ensure the polity is aware of the role of its military within the security establishment. Such a study would solve several existing problems, not the least of which is a poor public understanding of the role of the Botswana Defense Force. Anyway, so arguments against the proposed Gripen purchase from opposition parties, Swedish media, and researchers from the Department of Peace and Conflict Research at Uppsala University highlight a long-standing shortcoming with defense policy. Anyway, so, and I talk about this, So, yeah, anyway, there you go. So this is my article. So I'll put that if anybody wants to check it out. If you go there, maybe they'll keep it on longer. Yeah, so let me get to that real quick. Yeah, so here's the link if you want to check it out, folks. Anyway, that's an article that I wrote in Defense Web. Oops, that's almost 200 characters. Paste. So there you go. That's my article on Botswana's defense. Anyway, the Gripen is a fantastic option. I'm telling you, Gripen is fantastic. It's a good choice there to answer your question specifically that you asked a few moments ago. What the hell? Unfortunately, South Africa's use of Gripens has been pathetic. South African Gripens, several of them, or two of them they're not salvageable. They've been so cannibalized and so damaged that they can't even ever be flown again. Two of them. Several more are being cannibalized. Yeah, it's sad. Robert loves the Mirage. I never liked the Mirage at all. Okay, so where's that one? Okay. Yeah, my take on the Gripen is a fantastic aircraft, but you have to maintain it. You have to fly it. That's not what's happening in South Africa. Bioweapons from China and made in Hong Kong. Oh, Emil Therrett's wife worked on the Gripen project many years ago. Well, there was a lot of offsets that were supposed to go. The A400M was supposed to be part of South Africa's inventory as well. 9 A400M transport aircraft were supposed to be built, and then South Africans had a defense offsets from Grintech and from Aerosud were supposed to participate in that project, but it went all to shit. That's a shame because South Africa didn't need Gripens. It needed transport aircraft, either the C-130 Juliet model or the A400M. Take your pick. I don't give a crap which one you get. UAE and Singapore make South African engineered weapons. Well, funny enough, the Botswana Defense Force had to send its C-130 to Singapore for refitting, for phase maintenance, because it couldn't be done in South Africa. South Africa wanted to have a C-130 hub for the whole continent, and they screwed that up too. Yep. Saul zoomed in pics of the tail assembly missing explosion, it seems. It's a lot of people are speculating that. Terrorism. It's also so interesting listening to your stream while I'm writing report comments for my grade 5s. You're welcome, Allison. She was based at the Test Flight Center outside Bredasdorp and spent a year in Saab. Oh, that would have been awesome to spend a year at Saab in Sweden. I'd have killed for that. What's your opinion about the Russian bomber that landed in South Africa? No, it wasn't a bomber. It's a transport aircraft, and these are part of the Arctic mission. They've been under contract to resupply folks at the Antarctic stations. So the Russian transport aircraft that have been landing in Cape Town have been part of the resupply effort for missions in the Antarctic. It's been under contract for years. Nothing to do with anything. It wasn't a bomber. Arctic, I agree. For Emil, must be fascinating work to work on the Gripen there and go to Sweden. Eric is going tonight. Is anything maintained in South Africa? Used to be, but not so much now. There's no Zulu word for maintenance. Is there a Xhosa word for it? Really, if ESCOM is not maintained, do you really think our Air Force Army is maintained? Yep. 2 bombers landed Joburg. Oh, you're talking about last year. I'm talking about recent weeks, Arctic. I'm talking about recent weeks. He said a couple weeks ago. I'm talking about a couple weeks ago. Yes, there were bomber aircraft that landed there last year. That's correct. But he said a couple weeks ago. He didn't say last year. So it wasn't a bomber a couple weeks ago. Those were transport aircraft. But yes, Arctic is correct. There were two Tupolevs, I think, that landed in South Africa last year. And that was all part of ANC. It's Russia trying to, get some attention. It didn't really mean much of anything. All right. So, 171 likes for this stream. Cool beans, folks. And we're coming up on 2 hours. But I think it's time to wrap it up. Thanks a lot. I need to take a break. It's almost 4 p.m. here on the East Coast. It is nearly 10 o'clock in South Africa. So this will constitute the night owls for tonight. Those who usually tune in at 3:30 or 9:30 are just tuning in now, but I'm going to go. Gripen based in Bredasdorp, flew many times right over my house in Hermanus. Cool, Dietrich. Cool. So I'm going to leave you with another song from Giselle. We did South Africa earlier. And let's do Lekker Foto Up. Enjoy this, folks. This is from Giselle, my friend from Namibia, who lives in South Africa near Pretoria in the Highveld. And she's a musician. So thank you very much. And don't forget, Thursday, programming announcement. Now, tomorrow I'll be on for my program, and I've got a rugby game first, then my program, then a rugby game, then Ronaldo, and I'll leave Ronaldo slightly early to do rugby. So I've got the Western Province versus the Pumas in Cape Town in the early broadcast on Rugby Senate. Then the later game is going to be the Lions and Bulls. And thank you, Mr. B, for that super chat. 14 Rand on set. I like it. Yeah, and don't forget the program announcement Thursday, Kevin Sorbo. It would be awesome to get thousands of people to tune in for that. It would be really cool. I've been promoting Dean Chancey's new song, but I don't have it up and ready to go. I need to download the digits so I can play it. So anyway, all right, folks, that's it. Thank you very much. And you should check out Dean Chancey. Thank you. You're welcome, Cyber Eggs and everybody. God bless and have a good evening. I'll see you tomorrow. Long day. I've got my 2 rugby broadcasts plus my show plus Ronaldo's show, and then I'm on the radio tomorrow night for 2 hours. Long day tomorrow. Cheers, everybody. Thank you so much for everything.